about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. So over this weekend, we have been praying and hoping that they find more survivors from the Texas flooding that happened with a huge number of victims from Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas, where a bunch of children as well as camp counselors got swept into the Guadalupe River. These floodwaters, they believe the death toll is now at 90, with at least 28 children, multiple victims still missing. And in the midst of all this, you have a pediatrician from Texas. We're talking about a pediatrician, somebody that devotes their lives to children, posting things online saying Trump supporters got what they voted for. Now, I thought that would have been a hack, but she was serious. This is a pediatrician, somebody who takes care of kids, saying they got what they voted for, almost reveling in the fact that kids died. Kids don't vote. What is her problem? She's been fired. Thank God. She should lose her license. I don't get. Maybe she had some temporary insanity, but Dr. Christina Probst apparently decided to take to Facebook while all this is going on. Why you would think everybody would be like all hands on deck. She decides to post anti-MAGA stuff, and she writes, "May all visitors, children, non-MAGA voters, and pets be safe and dry. Kerr County MAGA voted to gut FEMA. They deny climate change. May they get what they voted for. Bless their hearts." Now, maybe she was, trying to only talk about one person, but the fact that in two different lines, she wants non-MAGA voters and pets to be safe and dry. You're a doctor. See, it's things like this that make our profession look bad, look really bad. Your physicians, your physician assistants, your nurse practitioners, anybody who is dedicating their lives to healthcare, put you first. You're the patient first. Let's say you smoked. Let's say you had unprotected sex. Let's say you drove drunk. We are there to pick up the pieces, and we don't judge. And here she is, and she's a pediatrician. In the midst of kids being dead. Now, the practice that she worked from wrote a statement. They say, "We are aware that a personal social media comment by one of our physicians has caused significant hurt and outrage. The content and timing of that post do not reflect the value standards or missions of Bluefish Pediatrics. We want to be clear, we do not support or condone any statement that politicizes tragedy, diminishes human dignity, or fails to clearly uphold compassion for every child and family, regardless of their background or beliefs." Very well written. They say, "Our practice exists for one purpose only, to provide excellent, loving, and respectful care to all children and families. Our patients come from every walk of life, every political belief, and every background, and we are honored to serve each of them with empathy and integrity. In moments of crisis, we believe in unity over division, healing over judgment, humility over rhetoric. We are taking this matter seriously, reviewing it internally, and have placed a physician on administrative leave." Later, they came back saying she is no longer employed. Now, here's the thing. You as a medical provider, you could have your own political beliefs. This is America. But if it at all suggests that you are happy or you are blaming, when you have victims, we haven't even found all the flood victims yet. People are dead. It starts to shake. The reason why I get so mad when I hear a doctor do this is patients are very vulnerable when they are in a doctor's office. They're naked. They're at their most vulnerable in terms of sick. And they are hoping to God that that doctor is not going to judge the color of their skin, judge their religion, judge their politics. And to hear words like this spew out of a pediatrician's mouth saying they got what they voted for makes people think, what is she doing to patients if the family is wearing something patriotic or pro-MAGA or pro-Trump? What is she doing? We've heard time and time again of people in the healthcare profession socking it to people who they feel are conservative. I stuck them twice. Somebody was hinting on it was a medical student putting in an IV when somebody was looking at her name tag going, what do you mean she, her? Because they didn't understand pronouns. But she said, oh, they were mocking my pronouns. When you saw those nurses saying if it's somebody from Israel, they let them die. If people think that the toxicity of politics and the cancer of politics has invaded hospital systems, medical facilities, this is not a free country. People are going to think that they're going to die at the hands of a doctor or a medical professional that just doesn't like their political beliefs. And maybe that's what some people want. They want people so scared that they don't wear, a Trump hat or a, America hat. Look, Jason Kelsey was celebrating, I guess, 4th of July, and he got backlash. So you can't even wear an American flag? Oh, hell no. People are going to revolt against this, and I'm glad this doctor was fired. But we have a travesty. We have a tragedy that's still ongoing. To help, there's multiple GoFundMes. I definitely recommend Red Cross donating blood to Vitalit Red Cross, Salvation Army, and there's I think the state has also put up a fund to help survivors. But listen, if you're in medicine, you don't do what this doctor did. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, it's Mark Falter, host of the Financial Fitness Show. I strongly believe that no one should ever pay 1 penny more in taxes than they are legally obligated. Unfortunately, for most hardworking Americans, this just isn't the case. Why? Because most people spend more time planning next weekend's getaway than trying to ensure they're going to pay less in taxes. My financial fitness team has put together some materials that I know are going to help you. It's the Tax Savings Kit. Tax Savings Kit includes 3 things: free tax analysis, top 10 ways to pay less in taxes, and an investor's guide to taxes. Now, how do you get it? Simple. 866-764-2635. Again, 866-764-2635. I'm Mark Falter. This is Financial Fitness, making personal finance profitable.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So while we're still waiting to find out what the hell happened in terms of Biden's medical team, we know what happened, but it has to be confirmed. I mean, I think what happened is they realized that they didn't have anybody better to run. Biden knocks off Kamala Harris early in the Democratic primary back in 2020 or 2019. Pete Buttigieg, these other individuals, Beto O'Rourke, couldn't compete with Biden. Biden was the best they had. They were like, well, let's make this work. And when they saw he was just flailing, you could even see it in Barack Obama's eyes when he tried to help him and had to steer him. They said, well, we need to double down, triple down, quadruple down. And as a doctor, it was just heartbreaking to see somebody who really needed medical help that should have, gotten MRIs, cognitive testing, retired with his family, not been in charge of the football or the red button and be our commander in chief. And instead, the team behind him just kept double downing. What I felt happened last summer was they talked and they said, look, this isn't going to work. He's losing. He has horrible policies. We can't replace him at the Democratic convention because that will admit we failed. So we need to either have him exit or we have to, come up with another plan. And I had thought what he was going to do, I predicted this before he even got elected back in 2020, was that he was going to not want to step down and be thrown out of the office. He was going to want to make history and elevate Kamala Harris, getting credit for the first female president. What I didn't know at the time is that they didn't like each other. And from what we're also hearing, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden, did not like the vice president. And so rather than that happening, the team or the Democratic powers that be decided we need to show him that he's not going to win and that this is going to hurt. And so I saw that there was almost like a rush to get him to the debate stage. And, the news networks were actually pressing the Biden team almost collectively to get a debate. And I'm like, why would the news outlets who are more liberal leaning want Biden to go up there and debate? Is it that they have a plan? So I thought that was odd because you would think they were a part of this cover up the whole time. Why now do they want him on a debate stage with Trump, who could annihilate him in 2 sentences? And Trump held back. You see, he let him speak. You see, he didn't want to look like he was beating up on an old man. That was, even though they're close in age. Well, now we're being told that former President Joe Biden's advisors convinced Biden to hold an early summer debate, which is earlier than needed, insisting that it would help him reach the, quote, widest audience possible. This is according to New York Post. This was a 6-page document where 73 days before the debate, it basically recommends by, quote, by holding the first debate in the spring, you will be able to reach the widest audience possible before we are deep in the summer months with conventions, Olympics, and family vacations taking precedence. In addition, the earlier you are able to debate, the better, so that the American people can see you standing next to Trump, show the strength of your leadership compared to Trump's weakness and chaos. So this memo, it was interesting. Is it that they knew he was going to fail, so they needed him to be convinced, and then they needed the media to start talking about it to do the flip and the switch? Or is his team incompetent? Either way, it doesn't look good for the previous administration. And people will say, well, let it go, let it go. Everybody's talking about the previous administration. Let's just move forward. The problem is we can't move forward if there are cover-ups, if there's deceit, criminality, people not supposed to be auto-penning. We need to clean this up before the next president goes into the White House. If we in America let non-presidents run things or cover up a president who's failing and struggling, then we need to fix that. If we have a broken system, we need to fix the system. Now, people are distracted because here's Trump. He looks like he's obviously in charge. I mean, what a complete opposite pendulum swing. It looks like everybody has to run everything by him. If he doesn't like it, it doesn't happen. If he likes it, it happens. And it looks like he is involved. He's working on days off. I don't think he's taking a day off. It's a much different presidency. So people are starting to forget what a mess it was in the previous administration, and that there needs to be some fixings. Now, just because the current administration shows that Trump's in charge, what if Democrats win again? Is this system going to again take over? People say Pete Buttigieg might be one of the front runners, or Gavin Newsom, or does the machine run them? And no, we don't have a machine running Trump, but will a machine run the next Democratic, president? Or is there a machine that exists on the Republican side that could take over when Trump leaves? But the fact that this all happened, really makes us nervous. And as a doctor, the first thing I want fixed is what the hell was the medical team doing? Now, Dr. O'Connor was supposed to testify. I'm not sure when I think it's going to be later in July. But if he says, look, these are the things I recommended. I recommend the MRI. I recommended cognitive testing. I recommended a neurologist look at him and a psychiatrist look at him. And he refused against medical advice. Then O'Connor's protected to a certain degree. Because if you recommend something for a patient and the patient says, oh, hell no, then you don't, this is America. You don't force somebody into medical treatments. As commander-in-chief, it's then on him. He should have made sure he was at the utmost health. But interesting, because people will ask me, they'll say, Dr. Daliah, was Secret Service supersedes the president's authority. If the president doesn't want the Secret Service protecting his life, the Secret Service has a job to do. And they will rush him into underground bunkers. They will do what it needs to. If look at Ronald Reagan getting shot. If they want to throw him in a car, they're going to throw him in a car. So Secret Service has authority over the president in some situations. Should the doctor? Now, most of us would say no, because we don't want a doctor who's working for an enemy or spy to hurt him. But when you're looking at standard of care, what's going on here? See, for me as a doctor, everything has to be documented. So if I want a patient to do something, I'm going to recommend it. I'm going to put it in the note. Now, there's a nice way of saying the patient refused. You could just objectively just say, patient signed a form AMA against medical advice. You could say, I discussed things that I want the patient to look at, and I urge these things get done. And, you don't necessarily have to talk about the refusal. You said, look, these are what I'm ordering. They might change their mind later. But if we have a medical team that is faulty. If O'Connor didn't bring it up because he was afraid he would lose his, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars he makes, well, then he loses his license and gets sued for malpractice. So we have to see what comes from that testimony. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Looking for a gift that can actually help secure someone's future? It's Mark Falter's new book, Common Sense Income Strategies. It makes the perfect gift for that special someone in your life. Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using time-tested strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. To learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Secure your future with Common Sense Income Strategies by Mark Falter. Again, to learn how to receive your free copy, call 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So you're going to see people talking about online, old people smell. I don't like that term, but old people smell is an odor that older individuals may give off. Having worked in hospital settings and trained in nursing homes and having my own family members, older family members, have those odors. I don't always think it's a bad thing because the smell reminds me of grandpa, of grandma. It reminds you of your family members. But the quote unquote old person smell is not very pleasing to many. And it's not just one scent. There's a few different scents. And so when people ask, is that a real thing, old person smell? Yeah, it is. We give off scent. Babies have a smell. Yeah, we smell babies. And the baby smell to me, see, I think everything has to do with, evolution. There has to be some sort of a benefit in nature. So with babies, moms have to identify their baby with a smell. And then moms have to, and the moms learn that smell very early on. So they know who's their baby, just in case somebody decides to switch their baby. Although my kids, as I take them, let me see what I get next round. No, I love my baby boys. But they had a baby smell. That smell also, it wasn't necessarily a wonderful smell. I prefer the smell of chocolate, but I noticed it was a calming smell because your baby was with you. And so it was a way to bond, and it was a way to connect. And it's very fresh. It's a fresher smell. Newer glands, newer skin hair, etc. Then you go through puberty and you get different smells. You get the smell of body odor. You get a lot more pungent smells because now the hormones are changing. And those smells, even though we think they're stinky, in nature alert others that you're in heat or that you are able to reproduce. Now, we in America do not marry or advocate reproducing during the pubertal years. I reached puberty when I was 13. Maybe I started going through some changes. I should say I started my periods at 13, but I got the boobies early on. There is no way I would have even in caveman days wanted to already be, having kids. But technically, once I started my period at age 13, in nature, that's your fertility age. And so body odor is a sign to other animals that in the animal kingdom that you are now of the age where you could reproduce. And so we learned to control it. We use deodorants, things like that. And, yeah. Then you go through other stages until you get to become older or a senior. Now, they say women in menopause will have different odors because their estrogen changes, their skins change. So, I don't really smell the average middle-age, patient, but I could believe it, I'm sure. And, I noticed, I know some of you would disagree, but I noticed I don't need deodorant as much. I don't, it's because I'm not in heat. Well, depends on, which movie I'm watching. But you don't have, so a lot of people say, look, I don't have to always perfume up. Or also, a lot of older individuals, if they're not necessarily on the hunt or in the dating scene, they're not going to cologne up and perfume up. They're going to be like, I don't want to expose myself to that. So, yeah, older individuals may smell differently. And then you have the seniors. And the seniors, there's a few different smells. One is it could be a urine smell. When you lose your urine, that haunts you the rest of the day until you change your clothes. So, if you cough, sneeze, have an accident, that could be a problem. If you have motility issues where you can't wipe your butt very well, then you might have, feces smell, which, could affect you. Older people have a tougher time holding their farts. And so they might have more gas smells. Their burps they might be like, you know what? I got a burp. I don't care. I'm 75. You're going to smell it. So they may also smell more acidic. If they have diabetes, diabetics have a smell. You could smell diabetes, a very kind of sweet, fruity, but it's not a pleasant smell. When I smell that, I'm like, something's wrong. But the skin changes, the sloughing of the skin, the metabolism, things are different in an older person. Fox News talks a little bit about this, and they have another pathophysiological component. They say it's 2-nonenal. It's a compound that emerges from lipid oxidation. It says that's, the lipid oxidation is the process of fats in the cells breaking down due to imbalances in the body, according to certain studies. And this compound is unique to aging skin, has a greasy cardboard-like odor, and you can't wash it off very easily. So, because it has a fatty composition. So it's more complex. So one doctor they interviewed, let me give credit where credit is due. It's a Dr. Dan Wesson, professor at the University of Florida College of Medicine, suggested eating foods with more antioxidants like fruits and vegetables, staying hydrated, using antioxidant skincare. But another thing that I think also is your medications can make you smell. There are certain medications that give you odors. Also, certain foods that you eat. So, this old person smell isn't always a bad thing unless it's signifying pathology. So what we as doctors recommend is if you have a family member who has a different smell, bring them in. Let us take a look. Now, I know people are going to panic. They're going to be like, oh, no, maybe I need to change my underwear more. You could just say, look, as opposed to looking differently, sounding differently, the doctor said that if at all there's a change, let's take a look. Let's look at your salts. Let's look at your blood sugar. Let's look at your skin functioning. Skin may get leathery, and with leathery and wrinkles, you have more surface area. Whereas a baby's skin is so smooth, when you have wrinkles, you have more divots. And so there's technically more surface area to your skin. That could hold, again, more odors, particles, bacteria. So there are ways to clean without over-cleaning. You do need oils. And so some individuals might bathe inappropriately. So one thing I notice with older people is they don't bathe as often as younger people, which, by the way, there's been a lot of studies going, do you really need to shower every day? I shower twice a day. Not because I'm dirty. It's just I shower in the morning to get ready in the morning. But at night, the shower helps me sleep. So I take a hot shower and I just stand there and let the hot water hit my back and front. And then my muscles relax and I'm able to fall asleep. Well, with that, I could be washing off a lot of oils. When you look at an older person's regimen, bath a day may only come every few days. And then that bath is a very rigorous, long soaking. Maybe the key is superficial, or I don't want to say superficial, but less deep cleaning, but more often. The problem is bath time is dangerous for seniors. You don't want them tripping. You don't want them falling. So bath time gets minimized for seniors. So yeah, they could have an odor. But the reason why older people have an odor is in nature, if you are not of prime reproductive years, there has to be a signal that turns people off. And so smells sometimes do that. And so if that smell is like, okay, something's wrong, I'm not, I really don't want to be around this person, that's a nature thing. But for me, it's memories of patients and grandparents. So I don't mind it too much. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away.
Hey guys, it's Clyde. We've had a lot of requests for Ground Zero merchandise, so we put together an online store with a big variety of high-quality items. I'm really excited to let you know about these things. We have a lot to offer you and your loved ones. In addition to our regular apparel, such as t-shirts, beanies, hoodies, and hats, we've expanded our product line with posters, flags, aprons, mugs, and a whole lot more. We also have Ground Zero collectibles, along with a limited edition of items like a Clyde Lewis canvas portrait, a Ground Zero embroidered jacket that will certainly make for great gifts and for interesting conversations with family and friends. And we now offer publications such as Ron Patton's book about mind control, MK Zine, and back copies of the official magazine of Ground Zero while it was in print. Paranoia, the Conspiracy Reader, also coming in 2023, are updated and revised books that I've written. There's a secure and easy-to-use shopping cart for your purchases. So shop today at our official store by going to groundzeromerch.com. Again, that's groundzeromerch.com.
Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, while looking at what happened with the Camp Mystic group of girls, and the death toll is now being told we're at 89, probably close to 90 even. In fact, earlier this morning I heard it was above 90, where multiple children were killed, people still missing. These were huge Texas floods. The next question people have is why? How could this have been prevented? And we do need to look at that. You have a beautiful camp in Hunt, Texas, along the was it the Guadalupe River? And there's, the camp was along the river because during camp and during summer camp, because there's no school for 3 months, which I think is ridiculous, said that needs to stop. Kids need to be in school during the summer. We could still have vacations, but this idea of 3 months of no school, so then we have to find camps to put them in, and then kids could be learning. However, I am a fan of camps if school is out for 3 months of the year and these kids are losing months of learning time. At least they could be learning how to interact with kids and swim and camp and hike and other things. But, you have a location of a camp, Camp Mystic. You see pictures of it. There's green, there's the river, there's activities, there's dining halls, there's cabins. And sadly, the floods washed it out. And there wasn't a lot of warning. We're being told that the timeline, heavy rain was pouring over central Texas. And at about 10:48 a.m., Thursday, July 3rd, this according to ABC News, the National Weather Service Prediction Center upgrades portions of south central Texas, including Kerr County and surrounding areas, to a level 2 of 4 risk for excessive rainfall. 2.5 hours later, a flood watch is issued by National Weather Service Austin, San Antonio, including Kerr County and surrounding areas of south central Texas. That's by 1:18 p.m. The alert mentions, according to ABC News, local heavy rainfall could cause flash flooding in the region with isolated amounts of 5 to 7 inches possible. Adding, excessive runoff may result in flooding of rivers, creeks, streams, other low-lying and flood-prone locations. Creeks and streams may rise out of their banks. So that was 1:18 p.m. on the 3rd. At 6 p.m., the Weather Protection Center highlights the south central Texas region as an area of increasing concern for slow-moving training thunderstorms, meaning rounds of thunderstorms moving over the same area with potential of rainfall rates exceeding 3 inches per hour into the evening hours and beyond. By July 4th, Friday, 1:14 a.m., a flash flood warning is issued for Bandera and Kerr counties and include the considerable alert tag. They say flash flood warnings with the impact-based warning tags considerable or catastrophic denote high damage threats, according to the NWS, and will automatically trigger wireless emergency alerts on enabled mobile devices. Because I know the question people had is, if they didn't get the alerts earlier in the day, where flooding could happen, and then you add flash flood warning in the middle of the night, what happens when people are asleep? So there's the wireless emergency alerts on the mobile phones, which are very loud. This ensures only the most life-threatening flash flood events prompt urgent public notifications. And the alert mentioned flash flooding and highlighted the threat of life-threatening flash flooding of creeks, streams, urban areas, highway streets, and underpasses for locations like Kerrville, Ingram, Hunt, and the Kerr Wildlife Management. By 3:35 a.m., the original flash flood warning is upgraded even more, includes more serious and specific wording. Move to higher ground now. Act quickly to protect your life. Flooding is occurring or is imminent. It is important to know where you are relative to streams, rivers, creeks, which can become killers in heavy rains. Campers and hikers should avoid streams or creeks. 4:03 a.m., the flash flood warning is upgraded to a flash flood emergency for south central Kerr County, including Hunt. They said numerous low water crossings as well as the Guadalupe River and Hunt are flooding. Between 4 and 10 inches of rain have fallen. The expected rainfall rate is 2 to 4 inches in an hour. Additional rainfall amounts of 2 to 4 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is already occurring. Again, this is a flash flood emergency for south central Kerr County. 4:35 a.m., first reports. So now, a half hour later, first reports of flash flooding start coming in from local officials, including the sheriff's office. 7 a.m., Kerr County, Texas begins to evacuate people near the Guadalupe River in Hunt. 10 a.m., Kerr County Sheriff's Office confirms there's been multiple fatalities, including catastrophic flooding. 1 p.m., the next day, the devastating and deadly flood has surpassed the flood of 1987, becoming the highest flood on record. So what could we have done differently? By the way, there's still flash flood warnings. There's still rain. I believe North Carolina is looking at rain. There's still storms. What could have been done different? Now, I don't know much about weather alerts, but it sounds like they started alerting people the day before. However, how many times do we get alerts and we're like, okay, well, there's going to be flooding. I don't think I'm in a flooded area. I'm good. Should there be crews that go to every single campsite, to every, are there regional areas that should go there and say, we're evacuating now? Do that you have a vulnerable population? I mean, they've never seen historic floods like this, but because we're being told that there wasn't enough warning. I don't think there ever is enough warning for something like this. But it sounds like warning started the day before. And every few hours, it was upgraded and upgraded and upgraded. By the time there were some serious warnings, it was in the middle of the night. And as we see with Florida, they have to get the evacuations correct. They need to have people evacuate at the right time, but not also clog, not have over evacuations, because the more they say evacuate, so many Floridians, they never evacuate. They're like, how many times they told us to evacuate and we didn't have to, so now they don't, and it's the boy who cried wolf. So, when you look at what happened, it's frightening. And, we have beautiful rivers. We want camps close to the river. We want kids being able to enjoy waterways, but somehow the protections weren't there. Is it there weren't enough levees or dams? Do we have to improve the river channels in the area? Was there flood diversion channels, enough of them? Certain floodgates, drainage systems, what happened? And it's frightening. Just like with the Pacific Palisades fire, what happened? Now, it's not that we want to blame and we want to, we want to just, make it political. But if there was a screw up, where was the screw up? The Palisades fire, no water in the fire hydrants. Electric vehicles that are inextinguishable parked in the garages. I mean, firefighters said we just have to let it burn. I mean, that Pacific Palisades fire was a mess, and boy, did those wildfires happen fast. Same thing with the flooding. Should at 1 a.m., authorities go to the camp saying, everybody get out. Let's all move to higher ground. What should have been done that wasn't done? What infrastructure was not done? We're human. And we could only do so much as it pertains to Mother Nature. You could be the best captain on a ship. If there's a storm in the middle of the Atlantic, you'll get flipped. A serious one. But we do need to evaluate. We got to find the survivors first. And we got to find the flood victims first. And then we have to take a look at what we could do to do better. 1-877-Daliah.
Looking for an easy read that can actually help secure someone's future? Pick up a copy of Mark Falter's book, Common Sense Income Strategies. For the past 30-plus years, Mark has helped thousands of hardworking Americans secure their financial future by using strategies that continue to create wealth, whether the market is up or down. Strategies that will make perfect sense once you take the time to read this powerful book. Common Sense Income Strategies brings to you what Mark has been teaching in person and talking about on the radio for decades. It's not rocket science, it's a pretty easy read. You've worked too long and too hard not to see the fruits of your labor. Common Sense Income Strategies is available now on Amazon or by calling 866-764-2635. That's 866-764-2635. Common Sense Income Strategies by Financial Fitness Show host Mark Falter. Secure your financial future today.